Oh, Canada.
Put on a suit, drink water, don't drink and drive. Hey, man, call your mother.
It means nothing. It means nothing.
Nah, they lying to you. It's about the money.
Now you're more fluent.
What's up, y'all? It's another special edition of the HoopStorians. I'm excited with my guests. We got Chill. We got Shamaria down there. Real quick, hey, just to let you know, so I told my friend today, he's a real big fan of yours, Chill. I was like, yo, I'm gonna have Chill on the show today. You ought to check it out. And but when I said it, I said JCW, through text, Jermaine Chill Womack and all that. And he's like, yo, man, what does that shit stand for? Just chilling, Whitey?
I'm about to get mine and it's about time. Call us Grindhouse, everybody in a house grind. I'm just doing me, I ain't trying to outshine. Trying to kill my vibe is how you get outline.
So now you know, man, you got a new acronym for your name, bro. JCW.
I guess. Just chilling, Whitey.
Just chilling, Whitey. So, hey, let's get into this day in NBA history really quick. November 2nd, 1946. Red Auerbach makes his coaching debut for the Washington Capitals. They beat the Detroit Falcons 50-33. Where y'all got Red Auerbach on the all-time list of greatest coaches?
Phil Jackson, Pop, Pat Riley, Red Auerbach.
You got him fourth?
No, I got him actually third. I don't think he was. Yeah, I got him third behind Phil Jackson and and Coach Pop.
See, I got to go second. What about you, Shamari? Where you got him?
I would say fourth.
Say fourth?
Yeah. I would say, yeah. Because I got, like Phil Jackson. I would just fourth. It was no second fourth.
I got you. Well, that was this day in NBA history then. So let's get into this. I want to talk about this. I've been wanting to talk about this first real quick. I want to talk about what defines greatness. What is greatness? I mean, that seems to dominate our topic. Who's the GOAT? Who's the greatest team? If you watch TikTok lives, that's pretty much all we really talk about. We talk about some other stuff, but I would say that is definitely the biggest topic in the NBA community. Would you agree?
Mm-hmm.
That's definitely
Almost to nauseum, but yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, no, I agree with you. Every time I do a live, you know what I mean? Like the only time I can really get people to stay, you know what I mean? I got to talk about GOATs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah, anytime I do another subject, people don't really stick around. So let's get into it. And I've seen like such varying responses of people on what the GOATs are. Now, me personally, I think I have the best format. Everybody thinks they got the best format. So I'm going to kick it off to, let's go Shamaria first. What do you think greatness is? Like, how do you define greatness?
How do I define greatness? I think that it's to me, it's tough to give an exact definition of greatness. So for me, I have to point to players. I'm pointing to players like the obvious would be like Wilt Chamberlain, Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, and like all these guys have like similar things, but it's just tough. I can't give an exact definition. I would just have to give players. That's how I view it. That makes sense.
Well, when you think about players, those are examples of what greatness is. So when you think about greatness, what does it take to be great, Shamaria? When you're thinking about being great, if I'm going to be great, what does it take for James to be great? What does it take for Lajuan to be great?
I mean, one thing that I value the most is just winning at the highest level, being great, just like at your craft.
Sure.
And it's just like, I feel like that's just such a simple, basic answer, but that's just like how I view it. It's just being at the best of the best at your craft and making sure that you have those accolades and accomplishments to back up at how great you were at your craft. That's how I view it.
What about you, Chip? What do you think it is?
Consistency more than anything. What I do on a Tuesday in January, I do the same thing in the Western Conference Championship plus more. That's what I think when I think about greatness. I think that I could count on you every night, one, to be here, and two, to bring what you do best every night. And when the moment gets the biggest, you're still here. Now, there are going to be times when the great ones shrink. It happens. It happens to the best of them. I mean, Just like we talked about 2011 with LeBron James. We talk about Tragic Johnson in 84. We talk about Jordan in 89. They were up in the series against the Detroit Pistons, and they fell to pieces. We
Wilt,
have
Game 7, 1969.
100%. Wilt is a little bit different. And the reason why I think Wilt is a little bit different is because I feel like that had a lot to do with Jerry West. And I feel like that had a lot to do with Elgin Baylor. Off the string. I don't know if you remember this, Tone, but Wilt missed one shot that night. That's it. He went 9 for 10.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to figure out a guy that you got that's that good, that's that dominant. Why does he only get 10 shots? Meanwhile, Jerry West is averaging in that series. He's averaging 23 shots. I think Wilt averaged like 11 shots a game. This guy needs to be shooting the basketball more. Now, the logic is that Wilt wouldn't shoot because he didn't want to go to the free throw line. I ain't trying to hear that. No, I'm not trying to hear that at all because we still played through fouls. I'm not trying to hear that at all. But anyway, I think that greatness, more than anything, is consistency. But my criteria when I talk about the all-time greats, 1, is your game timeless? 2, did you dominate? Now, when I say dominate, that goes to consistency. Like Karl Malone averaged 28 a game and 11 rebounds for 11 straight years. That's consistency, and that's dominating. Well, you can't be kicking ass and not winning. So number 3, did you win? Right? Jordan, 6 straight years. 6 times in the NBA Finals, undefeated. Bill Russell, 11 times in 12 years he was in the NBA championship. You know, this is what I'm talking about when I talk about winning. Is your game transcending? When I think about guys like Curry, when I think about guys like Olajuwon, how transcendent is your game? And number 5, how impactful were you with society? Like, how do people view you? When I saw that, I was down in Miami to see the unveiling of Dwayne Wade's statue, and all those guys, what they talked about was what type of dude Wade was. Like, they knew him as a player, but what they talked about was what type of dude he was. I care about stuff like that.
You mean when they unveiled the original Green Lantern statue, that 2011 Ryan Reynolds movie, and claimed it was Dwayne Wade? Whatever that dude's name is, Ad Bars, whatever his name is, that's what he looked like. So here's the way I look at it. This is where it starts to me, and this piggybacks off what you. But to me, the goal of the game is to win, right? That's what you play the game for. The goal of the game is to win, and how you determine the wins is by winning the title, right? And the role you want to play is being the best player on a title team. So right there, that's where it starts for me. Were you ever the best player on a title team? Okay, then we can start getting into all these other things. But that's how I started off. It generally goes the most people that were the best player on the most title teams. That's generally how my top list goes. Now, there's some people that skip, and there's some, sometimes there's exceptions to every rule, but that's where it starts. Okay, then what I go with after that, and like this doesn't necessarily have to be in order, but after that, then we go with accolades. How many times were you an MVP? How many times were you all NBA? How many times were you this? How many times were you that? Then it goes into stats. You know what I mean? What'd you average? What were your totals? Because at the end of the day, all of my 3 criteria are objective. None of them are subjective. There's no argument that Bill Russell won the MVP 5 times. We don't have to argue about did he win it or did he. Kind of like we're like, well, Kyrie's the best dribbler. How do you quantify that? How do you quantify that? You know what I mean? That's an opinion, and it might be true. Because I personally think Jamal Crawford has the best behind the back dribble of all time. You know what I mean? But how do I prove that? I just watched it and all that. And see, that's another thing about the eye test, and I'm not saying the eye test doesn't matter. And me and Rudy T were talking about this. I think it's really like 70% of the math and 30% of the eye test, because our eyes lie to us all the time. Anybody in here got an X? Your eyes lied to you. Why'd you think your X was the one? Your eyes lied to you all the time. And if you don't believe me, ask AI who the top 10 greatest players of all time, and they're pretty much going to get it in order and right. There might be a little variation, but how did AI know that without ever watching a game? How is AI able to do that without watching a game? Because AI judges the math, the history, you know what I mean? And it's able to read that. So that's how I judge it. Those are the top 3 things to me. So when I judge great, what'd you say?
When you talk about when you talk about being the best player on a championship team, that logic I can get with, but I have a difficult time. That's why winning isn't as high on my list as the other things. And the reason why is because when we're talking about winning, you need a lot of stuff to go your way in order to win. Winning isn't just, we got the best players, we got the best team, and we're going to win it. No, a lot of people forget, Maria, Olajuwon was Joel Embiid for 7 years. He couldn't get out of the second round of the playoffs. That happened from 1986. After 1986, he didn't get back to the NBA Finals for Forget the Western Conference Championship. He didn't get back to the NBA Finals because he wasn't there. He didn't get back to the NBA Finals until 94. That was 7 years. So that's what he was. And the Seattle Supersonics, they owned them. But Olajuwon was awesome. I mean, he's the only player in NBA history to have over 200 steals and almost 300 blocks and not make the all-defensive team. That's the most ridiculous shit I ever heard.
That's crazy.
Ever in all my days. So winning matters to me. I won't argue that part, Tone. Winning matters to me, but I have to I have to incorporate luck when it comes to winning because some things need to go your way. We talk about Steph Curry all the time. I mean, didn't we see what happened in 16? Like if that 15 team was healthy, that is that Cavs team. Do they beat that? Do they beat the Cavs if they were healthy in 15?
It's a legit argument.
That's what we don't know. But then we saw them in 16. They were healthy, and we saw what happened.
Yeah.
So I mean, when I think about winning, I care about that, but I just think that there's a lot of other factors that go into winning.
But let's go with this on the winning. How far down is the greatest player that's a non-winner? Because all the greatest players won.
Oh, 100%.
They all figure it out one way or another.
100%.
So that's why it goes back to winning because all the greatest players, they all win. One way or another. There's not a great player that didn't have a chance to win. For example, we'll even go to another level. Like I'll go with this. Charles Barkley, and we'll go luck, okay? And like if you look at the Suns in from 92 to 95, right?
Yep.
They and I really know my Suns history. 92 to 95, 3 years, they lost to the champs 3 straight years in a row.
Yes,
and you can argue they gave the champs the 3 hardest series in a row out of all those series each year when they lost to the Rockets twice.
Up on Houston twice. They was up on them 3-1.
Right.
Twice.
Right. And same thing with the Bulls. A lot of people think that 93 series was the Bulls' hardest series too. So I don't know if it is or isn't, but I mean hardest final series, not the hardest necessarily series. But like you look at Barkley, and I agree with Luck, but in 95, I think the Suns were the best team. They were running through the league till Manning got injured. And I forget who fell in his leg. It was Klein or Shays, one of the two. They fell in the leg, and it was just completely different. You know what I mean? So that's where winning comes into me. And everything that I say is objective. I had a guy on here. We were talking about it, and he was like, he said, he's got Bob Davies over John Stockton in terms of greatness. I started laughing and all that, and I started talking about, because I want to get into this with you guys on this. So I started talking about how I personally, and I want to see where you're at on this. I have guys like Pettit, Havlicek, Barry, Isaiah Thomas over guys like Oscar, over guys like Jerry West, and over guys like Dr. J. Because at the end of the day, the 4 guys I named first, they all were the best player on the title team. So I would rather, we'll just use Isaiah Thomas, for example. I'd rather be the best player on 2 title teams, make 12 All-Stars, make some All-NBAs, than be Oscar Robertson with your MVP and your ring as a secondary player. Because at the end of the day, people will knock Oscar. He couldn't lead his team to a title. You can't knock Isaiah. You can't knock. So I was explaining to this guy, this, and like he was really on Jerry West. And he goes, yeah, but who? I forget who missed the shot, but he goes, literally, it was just a couple inches away. And you're telling me that's what knocks him off? I go, dude, I don't think you understand this. So I'll explain to you the best way I know how to show you how much different a couple inches can make. If my aunt had a dick, she'd be my uncle. And that's how much difference a couple inches can make. You know what I'm saying?
It's not the same, man. It isn't. So, Maria, what do you think?
I'm just saying. So where do you guys find the flaw in that? That I say guys like Pettit, Thomas, Barry Havlicek are over guys like Dr. J, Oscar, and Jerry West.
Yep.
No, I'm saying where's the flaw in my logic in that? I'm trying to find this out on the greatness tip.
Right, Maria.
I'm just caught in the middle because, like, even though I said because I view winning very highly. Like, I think that's like the main objective in every sport is to win chips. But I also have to understand, like Chill says, some wins are lucky. Players got to be in certain situations in order to win. To back that up, then I would start looking at numbers. I would have to go to stats next to try to make the cases for other players. That's why to me, no top 10 list is completely followed by what a person has. That's just how I see it, because there's just going to be a couple of players that are just statistically better than other players. It may have less championships than these other guys, but they're still better than them. Like Will, I got Will over Shaq on my all-time.
I got Will over Shaq.
I do too.
but Shaq got more chips than Will. It's
Mhm.
just difficult. It's difficult. I'm in the middle of it.
Mhm.
Well, hey,
But-
can I say, like, using my format? Like Shaq's got him in one more title as the best player, and then Wilt kills him in accolades and stats. So judging by my branch, Wilt clears in those areas.
So,
And that,
but to your point, when you talk about guys like Bob Pettit, who I think Bob Pettit, you can't name me 10 4-men better than Bob Pettit. You can't do it. I don't care that he played 60 years ago. I don't care what era he played in. You can't name 10 4-men better than Bob Pettit. It's going in one ear and out the other. Bob Pettit finished 6th in the league in MVP votes, and he went 32-17. That's almost 30-20, right? So you can't name those. When we talk about winning, though, this is what I'm talking about, though, Tone. When I'm talking about things going your way. I mean, he ran into Russ. Russ was a rook the year that they won the NBA championship. So they never won it again after that. Once Boston figured it out, they started rolling, and they never won it again. Oscar Robertson kept running into that Boston Celtic team that was loaded. It wasn't the fact that Oscar wasn't good enough. Oscar went 30-10-9 for 8 straight years. We got a guy running around in the NBA going 30-10-9 for 8 straight years. That's not a good player in the NBA. That's not a great player in the NBA. That's arguably the best player in the league, right? So he was running around doing that, but he's running into this bomb squad in Boston every year. Jerry West had a 5-year stretch where he averaged 35 a game in the playoffs when it mattered the most. But he kept running into that Celtic team. He needed some things to go his way. And one of the things that did go his way was in 72 when, all of those guys were gone. Other than that, they couldn't beat them. But when I think about you being the best player on a championship team, you could, to your point, when you talk about how far down are guys who weren't winning. Like, I got Karl Malone in the top 20, but I got him on the other side of of top 15. I think I got Malone at 18, only because he didn't win. Oh, not because he wasn't good enough. I mean, not because he didn't get there, because he did, but because he didn't win. If he had won, he would definitely be higher. That does matter. But I got to factor in the other stuff that he did. I can appreciate you having winning at the top of your list, because winning does matter. All we talk about in this game is, did you win? 100% did you win? But there are guys who won who weren't really that good, and I don't equate them as better than other guys. And then there are guys who also won, but they didn't win as much, and they're better than these other guys. Like Chamberlain and Shaq is a prime example of that.
well, that's where my 3-branch thing comes in. If you factor in accolades, stats, and winning, I believe you will generally get the greater player and all that. Like for example, who's the best player on a title team? Dennis Johnson, Chauncey Billups.
Who's the worst best player
Right.
on a title team? Yeah, that's what I'm thinking about.
Okay,
now.
so I mean, those are what, top 100 players of all time or so, right around there.
Maybe.
I'm just saying, if you got Chauncey Billups as the 100 greatest player of all time, I'm not gonna be like, you're out your mind.
Right. I don't think it's ridiculous to think that.
Yeah.
But with that being said, this is where it gets tricky, because when you add in accolades, when you add in league MVPs, which I care about that stuff too. I'm a huge fanatic when it comes to that stuff is a huge component for me. Being an all-pro, being a finals MVP, being a league MVP, being an all-league defender, I 100% care about that stuff. But when you're talking about stuff like finals MVP and you're using that against a guy like Kobe Bryant is better than Chauncey Billups. Chauncey Billups outplayed him in the finals. That happened, right? Chauncey Billups 100% outplayed him in the finals. Am I sitting here saying that Tony Parker was better than LeBron James at 22, even though Tony Parker outplayed him in the finals? I'm not sure if Tony Parker was better than LeBron James in 2007. He did get outplayed though. That's why the idea of the finals MVP, it could be tricky, because sometimes it's very much like the league MVP. It goes to the best player. It goes to the best player in the league, but sometimes it doesn't. Just like the finals MVP is attached to the best player in the championship series. But is it? I mean, was Iguodala the best player in the championship series? Was Cedric Maxwell better than Bird in 81? Was he really?
Well, see, and it goes like this. Let's go with this. What would you consider? Would you rather be the best player on the team or better? Like, remember when we were talking to Bobby Dandridge? When we talked to Bobby Dandridge about six months ago? Okay, so I asked him which finals did he like more? Which ring does he value more? And he says the 78 one, when he was supposed to be the finals MVP. But for that Bucks scheme, he averaged 20 and 10 on 52%. on that Washington team, he averaged 20 and 7 on 45%, but he felt he was the best player. So that ring means more to him. So like what you were saying about Oscar, let's go with this, because most people have like Oscar and Jerry West over Pettit. So I'm just going to ask you this. Would you rather have, we'll use Oscar, for example. Would you rather average 30, 10, and 9 for 8 years, or would you rather average 26 and 16 in your career with a ring as the best player and 2 MVPs?
If I had a choice.
You had a choice. You either got Pettit's accolades, numbers, and rings.
I'm 26 and 16, and when I retire, I'm the all-time.
For your career.
For my career, I'm 26 and 16. I'm the all-time leading scorer in NBA history when I retire, and won the NBA championship. Or am I? I mean, that's a tough question to answer off the strength that, again, it goes back to being lucky. It goes back to things going your way, because it wasn't like Oscar. If I had to choose between the two, of course I'd want to average and win. Of course I'd want to do that. No doubt.
Because at the end of the day, 2 MVPs is better than 1 MVP, right?
Correct.
A ring is the best player is better than a ring is the second best player, right?
I think so. I would have to agree with that. But with that being said, if I think about what Oscar did, for example, I mean, Oscar is one of what, 3? Oscar, Magic, Nash, Curry, Oscar, and Russell Westbrook. 5 point guards in NBA history to win league MVP. He was the first one to do it.
Cousy?
Oh, Cousy. I'm sorry. So Cousy, I forgot about Cousy. Cousy was actually it was Bob Pettit was the first.
Cousy was the first. Well, I mean, he was the second. Cousy was the second MVP, but the first
was the second MVP. Right, was the first point guard, and then so it's 6 point guards in NBA history to do that, and Oscar is one of those 6 point guards to do that for what he did, and the fact that he ran into that Celtic team when he did it, the fact that Bob Pettit ran into that Celtic team and got lucky and beat them. And what I don't want to do, when I say lucky, I don't want to say lucky and diminish it. I don't want to do that, Tone, because I'm not doing that. No, because he did kick Russ' ass in that series. Let's not make it act like. Oh, let's not forget the year before they were shot away, maybe the craziest play ever, when they threw the ball cross court, bounced off the backward, Pettit just missed the shot. So I mean, they only lost by a point in Game 7 in the first time. Right. So I mean, I ran into a rookie. I ran into a rookie in Bill Russell. So I'm not losing to a rookie in Bill Russell. However, Oscar, when I think about Doc, I mean, Doc kept running into Magic and Jabbar. That was the problem. It wasn't the fact that he wasn't good enough. Doc was kicking ass in those finals. It's just that he wasn't better as that crew. The hole was at the 5 spot. As soon as he got Moses, they swept the Lakers. As soon as he got Moses, they completely swept the Lakers, because now the landscape it now gets evened out. So was Doc the best player? He was the best player on his team until Moses showed up. But I don't dismiss Doc for that, though. No, I don't. But I'm saying at the end of the day, I can say the same thing, because I can say the same thing about Moses. Moses needed Doc too. Right, but Moses has what, 3, 4 MVPs to Doc's 1? Yep, in 81. Right, and I'll be honest with you, what was it? That 81 MVP, like 24.6. Like if we're going all-time MVPs, it's kind of a weak MVP. Because most of your MVPs, especially if you're a scorer, is 25 plus. Well, remember too, we're talking about a big man league at that time too. So it's always a big man league. Right. It was a big man league at that time, and plus, I mean, Doc was so dynamic, and Philly was so good at that time in '81 that it was. Bird had just showed up, Magic had just showed up, Jabbar had just won it the year before, what Doc was doing at that time as a small forward, the game was actually, he was changing the game in that aspect, because it was a big man game. The offense ran through the big man. Now you got a small forward who's basically running through the air, and now you can possibly build your team around him. He was one of the better defenders in the league. He was one of the best scorers in the league. So the game was changing at that point, and Philly was winning, and a lot of that stuff had to do with Doc. A lot of it had to do with him. Oh, no, definitely it did. But at the end of the day, you know, like I said, it's one of those deals where he just didn't. And that's where that comes in. In a different dimension, if he did, then it's a different story. But when you also look at the fact, like in that same time, you know, in that era, because what Doc made the finals, 77, 80, 82 and lost, right? He made them 3 times and lost. He went 4 times in 6 years. Right. And then you look at, like, for example, guys like Bobby Dandridge in 1978's outplaying him to win finals, and is maybe the best player as a small forward in even a big man league in 1978 with the same years as Doc. So where goes the argument then? Right. Because if he's so good, if Bobby Dandridge can do it, Doc should be able to do it. But if you think about So with that being said, who did Bobby Dandridge have to deal with in the finals? He had to deal with Bobby Dandridge, with him being on that Washington team. He also had a damn good team too with Wes Unseld and having to deal with Jack Sikma, right? Having to deal with Dennis Johnson. That's way different than having to deal with Magic and Jabbar in their prime. Way different. That's way different than having to deal with Bill Walton and that crew. That's way different than having to deal with those guys.
Right.
That's not the same thing.
Right. No. But he beat Doc on the way to the finals and outplayed him individually in the conference finals on his way to the title. So where's the argument then? Huh?
Okay. Well, sure. I'm glad you brought that up. So when we're talking about that, I think it was in 78. I think that was the year they were in 78. That Philadelphia team was basically all over the place when he ended up beating them. And Doc got busy in those finals, by the way, if we're being honest. Doc got busy against Bobby Dandridge. He still was the best player in the playoffs. Right. I think Dandridge just had a better crew. And he sacrificed what he was doing. Because Dandridge could have probably averaged more than I think he averaged like 20 a game, 21 a game, something like that in that series.
He averaged 22 to Doc's 21.
Right. So it was around the same. And it was also that Philly team was in shambles at that point. They weren't the same. They weren't nearly the same. Doc was everything for that crew. So the argument about Bobby Dandridge outplaying Doc in that series, does that mean that he could have continued to outplay him? Because again, to outplay a guy one time, I can't say that, okay, you were better. I mean, Chauncey Billups outplayed Kobe Bryant in the finals. If he saw him again in the finals, would he outplay him again? That's the point. When I'm talking about guys getting outplayed one time, that's why that player for player thing gets tricky with me.
But then you had Bobby Dandridge outplaying guys like George Gervin as well. You know what I mean? Right. So, and if you look back on this, 1979 second round, we'll use Bobby Dandridge. I think Bobby Dandridge has the greatest second round game of all time in 79. So for those that don't know, the Bullets, they're down 3-1 to the Spurs. Yep. Bobby Dandridge comes back. Gervin drops 42 in game 7. They come back. They're at 7. Bobby Dandridge drops 37, scores 20 in the fourth, and the game-winning shot over a guy like George Gervin. So it has the most points in the finals and all that. So that's where it gets tricky into me. Right. And at the end of the day, like we'll use a guy like Rick Barry or John Havlicek. I got them over Doc because John Havlicek outplayed Bill Russell to win a finals. You know what I mean? Was the best player on the 74 finals team. You know what I mean? All defense, all that. Rick Barry averaged 40 in a finals in 67 and got it done in 75. And his stats would probably be crazy if he didn't go to the ABA and all that. So that's where it just comes into me. And like I said, at the end of the day, Rick Barry's great. Dr. J's great. I know without a doubt, if Rick Barry's the best player on my team, I can win a title. I don't know without a doubt that I can with Dr. J because it was never proven. I think it, I believe it, but it's not 100% guaranteed because it did not happen.
That is a fact, and I can't argue that. But what I can argue is that matchups matter. Not only do matchups matter, being fortunate matters. So when I think about that 75 Warriors team with both Rick Barry and Jamal Wilkes, and they had a damn good squad. And they ended. And who did they beat that year in the finals? If I'm not mistaken, in 75, who did they beat that year? The
Bullets. The Bullets.
They beat the Bullets. Right. Which goes back to my original logic because you talked about Charles Barkley in 95. If you think about Jabbar, think about what Jabbar did from 76 all the way up until they won it, they lost to the eventual champions or the finals recipient. This is who Doc has to deal with in the NBA championship. He's got to deal with, and I appreciate your logic when you're talking about Bobby Dandridge. But when we get to the championship series, he's got to deal with Bill Walton. Right, Rick Barry doesn't have to deal with Bill Walton like that. I think Bill Walton was better than Wes Unseld. He doesn't have to, and I think that Blazers team. I think I can make an argument that Blazers team was better than. I think that Blazers team was better than that Washington team. When I think about Doc having to deal with, Jabbar, and I think about Doc having to deal with Magic on a consistent basis, and having to deal with Bird too, whom he dropped. He ended up dropping Bird. Now to put Jerry West behind a guy, I want to make sure I remember who you said. You had Jerry West.
I'll do it. Jerry West, Oscar, Dr. J. I have guys like Isaiah, Pettit, Barry, Havlicek over them.
Yep. And you got Isaiah. Now, again, winning does matter. I'm not going to argue that, Maria. Winning 100% matters. But I think we got to put all of this into. I think we got to put all of this into context. It's not just winning the NBA championship. It's also what you do during that time, not just in the finals, but what are you doing in the regular season? What have you done throughout the course of your career? So we're talking about a guy in Isaiah Thomas. Tony, he went 6 years where he made the All-Pro team. He played 13 years. He didn't make the All-Pro team again for the second half of his career. He didn't. For the second half of his career, he was never an All-Pro again. Meanwhile, Jerry West consistently stayed on the All-Pro team. Consistently. I can appreciate your logic about winning. I can 100% understand what you're saying when you're talking about getting to the NBA championship. But that other stuff matters. This is what I'm talking about when I talk about being consistent. And a guy like Isaiah, who from 1986 to 1994 never made the All-Pro team again. Guys like Stockton, Kevin Johnson, and Mark Price, Magic, and Gary. These guys are making the All-Pro team, and he's not doing it anymore. Did he win the NBA championship? 100%. And he was the best player in the championship series. I think it was against the Trailblazers where he won the finals.
90.
Yeah, I think he anyone. Now, if you think about who they had to deal with during that time, right? That Trailblazer team was a bomb squad. I won't argue that because they were together for a long time, and I thought that the continuity that they had, I think that a lot of teams would not have been able to deal with them. They just were fortunate enough. They were just fortunate enough to have what they had when I talk about the Pistons. With that being said, Isaiah's resume, when I think about what he did from being the best point guard in high school to being the best point guard in college to when he gets to the pros, the second half of his career, he's never made the All-Pro team. Meanwhile, guys like Doc and Jerry West and Oscar Robertson, they're consistently doing that. I have to factor that in too. It's not just winning. This is what I'm talking about when I talk about is your game timeless and did you dominate?
But this is where I factored in on that. Like I said, if the goal is to win the title and be the best player, you did not accomplish the goal. So if I'm Isaiah, like I said, at the end of the day, I'll take my peak of 22 and 14 because obviously if I can get 22 and 14, I'm one of the best players ever, right? Those are serious numbers. Okay, so we showed that if you give me the ball, I can put up the numbers. Then I got 6 All-Pros, I got 12 All-Stars, and I'm the best player on the title team. There's no knock in my game. I mean, if you want to try and knock me for an MVP, sure. But like we'll use West. West, you have no MVP. You were never the best player on the title team. You may have a few more All-NBAs and a couple more All-Stars, but at the end of the day, your couple more All-Stars and your couple more All-Pros does not trump my ring at the end of the day. Because I bet you, and I don't know, but I bet you if we ask West, would you rather be the best player on 2 title teams, get 12 All-Stars, 6 All-Pros, or would you rather have whatever West had, 12 All-Pros, 12 All-Stars, and be the second best player on 1? What do you think Jerry West, knowing the way Jerry West is, would say?
He'd probably want to win more.
Right. So wouldn't you want the same?
I just think that so much goes into winning, man. I do. I do. I think so much goes into winning, Tone, and I do appreciate how highly you regard winning. I do. But I just think so much goes into winning, and you need a lot of stuff to go your way. And I'm not sure that Karl Malone is taking Robert Horry's career over his. I don't think he's doing that.
No. Because that's where that comes back into best player on a title team.
Sure. I don't think he's taking Olajuwon's career over his neither. I don't.
Then he's sharing the same pipe as Delonte West.
I don't.
You know what I mean? Because I would much rather have 1 MVP, 2 Finals MVP, 2 Defensive Players of the Year, rather than 2 MVPs and no rings.
I just think that there's a lot that goes into winning, man.
You have Olajuwon miles above Malone, do you not? What about you, Mario?
I have him in the top 10. Yes, I do.
Where do you got Olajuwon?
I got Olajuwon top 5.
Wow.
Top 5 for sure. Top 5.
See what I'm saying? Where do you have Karl Malone?
He top 20. Lower, lower.
So let me ask you this, because I got somebody who comes up. They want to speak their piece on this, because I want to ask you guys, because this is always a debate. Duncan or Kobe? Who do you think's greater?
I don't do the greater thing. Either you were better or you weren't. Tone, I always felt like that was a cop out. Always.
Okay. We'll go with better in your case. Who's better, Duncan or Kobe?
Duncan. I got Duncan ahead of Bryant.
I got Duncan ahead of Kobe. What about you, Shamari?
Yeah, I think I do the better and greater thing. I think Kobe is a better player than Duncan, but I think Duncan is greater than Kobe.
Okay, well, we got my man right here coming up. He wants to tell us, he must spend about 5 minutes to tell us why Kobe is greater than Duncan, since we're on this greatness. So we're gonna add Elijah right here. What's up, man?
Can't hear you, brother.
Okay, y'all can hear me. My computer wasn't working, so I got
Now you hot. Now you hot.
Okay. So to piggyback off the argument that y'all said earlier about greatness, and I told Tony before, I like to mix it all together. I don't think just because you're greater than somebody, that to me just seems like it's just winning. Like you said, like there's a lot that goes into winning. It's just, luck and everything. There's a lot of things that have to go into that,
Yeah.
So I'm not taking a guy like Kyrie Irving because he won a championship over a guy like Damian Lillard because he has.
I don't
better
take Kyrie
stats.
over Damian either.
But like that, I just feel like greatness is just winning because I don't have Bill Russell. Me personally, I don't have Bill Russell in my top 10. So, and he's like one of the greatest, all-time winner. 11 rings, lots of championships, and he's the best player on a ton of those championships. But I don't have him over Wilt. I don't have him over Bron. None of these guys, and they have less rings. So I feel like it's all a mix into one. Whoever's a better player and greatness at the same time. Because I mean, if you're good, if you're great, you're gonna win. This is what it is. You're gonna win a championship if you're that great. But at the same time, I mean, you have to your stats, things that I also take into account for. You have to be the best player on the championship team. Also, I like.
If you have to be the best player on the championship team, why is Russell not in the top 10? Because Russell was the best player on the championship team on of those 11 championships. He was the best player on at least 8 of those.
Because
at least 8.
When I think about back then, because I mean, I go back and study. I wasn't there to watch or anything, but Wilt Chamberlain, when they matched up against each other, a lot of people like to bring up, their drop off. But every time Wilt Chamberlain went up against Bill Russell, he dominated him every time. And Bill Russell's like undoubtedly a top 3 defender of all time. So
actually, he didn't dominate him. Actually, he didn't. He actually his scoring went down. He averaged 30 and 30 against Wilt. I mean, he averaged 30 and 30 against him. That sounds ridiculous. I know that sounds ridiculous, but this is the same dude who averaged 50 and 26. His numbers went down. He averaged 44 and 25. 44 and 24. But his numbers did go down when he went up against Bill Russell. I think your logic in terms of Bill Russell, I think is it because you look at Bill Russell from his skill set? Because I got Chamberlain ahead of Russell, but I got Chamberlain ahead of Russell for different reasons. I don't have Chamberlain ahead of Russell off the strength of him dominating Bill Russell. I got him ahead of him for different reasons.
Because I mean, then again, Bill Russell, I know back then the shooting splits and everything was lower, like the shooting averages. But then again, I mean, Bill Russell, mainly his shots were at the rim, and he's not shooting over 48% from the field. Wilt Chamberlain has better stats than him. When I look at it, you said, it was a drop off, went from 50 to 30. But I mean, if I'm giving you 30 points a night, I'm still dominating you every night, regardless of how much the drop off is.
What if we had a guy, Joel Embiid, who was averaging 32 a game, and in the playoffs that 32 went to like 19? Is he still kicking who's ever asked?
But 19 is different from 30 though.
Is it? Especially when you're playing at the fastest pace in the game. And on top of that, Bill Russell, the field goal percentage that you bring up, just so you know, that was the going rate. Wilt was an anomaly. Nobody was doing what Wilt was doing. Everybody else was doing, in terms of the elite big guys, they were doing what Bill Russell was doing at that time in terms of field goal percentage. It's not like it was Bill Russell and it was nobody else. No, Wilt was the other guy that was just different from everybody else. That was the going rate.
For sure. But I don't know. I just feel like even though that was one of the fastest paces in the game, I just feel like if I'm still giving you 30 and 20 a night, I mean, because
30 and 30, not 30 and 20, 30 and 30.
30 and 30, okay, because I see someone said 30 and 20, but
no, 30 and 30.
I mean, nobody was beating them Celtics teams at all. Nobody.
I mean, I can't say nobody.
Actually, there's one guy who did.
But mainly Will with his teams, I mean, Hal Greer and other guys like this, I mean, it's hard to beat that team. They won 11 championships.
That's why I have a difficult time with you.
It goes into it. Has to come into luck. I mean, Bill Russell's team was just dominant. So
that's why, Tony, I have a difficult time with having to listen to people tell me that Chamberlain should have won more. How you gonna tell me I should have won more when I'm the only one who won? Nobody else beat him. Nobody else. Line up anybody else. I'm the only one who did it. Well, you should have done it.
Well, Pettit beat him.
Nobody else did it.
Well, Pettit did.
Well, Pettit did it in the mid 50s. He didn't do it when they started rolling.
Right.
When they started rolling, nobody else could do it. But you telling me that I should have done it more?
Wait a minute. But if you were Pettit, would you still say you beat him?
Oh, 100%. I'm saying. I don't
There we
think he was
go.
a rookie. I don't think he was a rookie. Yes, we did beat them. Yes, we
Yeah.
did.
Actually, he was second year in defending champ. So wait. So tell us why you think Kobe's greater than Duncan and all that, man.
I have Kobe fourth on my list, and a lot of people ask me why do I got him so high, but I mean I have Duncan fifth or sixth, so it's not that crazy. But Kobe, I mean when you think about Kobe, he averaged 35 points per game, right, in the 05-06 season, and dominant. I mean his team, and when you think about it, his team didn't have that much spacing. Guys like Smush Parker, guys like this was getting playing time. Like these are guys that he was playing with, right? So people like to talk about how he blew the 3-1 lead. I mean, I think the games that he really wasn't performing that well in, they won. And then when he was scoring 50, those are the games that he lost. So I seen a stat, I think, where when he was off the floor, the team was a bottom 5 offense. But when he was on the floor, they were a top 10, top 5 fringe offense. That's how great Kobe was. And when I think about Kobe and Duncan, Kobe, I think personally, was the best player in the league because they both played in the same era. Their best player in the league more than Tim Duncan was in their era. And also, when Duncan and Shaq and the Lakers were matching up against each other, those times when Kobe was playing with Shaq, every time they played the Spurs, Duncan would outplay Shaq, but Kobe was the one when they beat them. Kobe was the one that willed them. Kobe was the one outplaying Shaq and showing that he was the best player on the floor at 22, 23 years old. A young Kobe, very young Kobe.
Well, two things. Number one, Duncan didn't always outplay Shaq because I believe it was in the 01 season. I think Shaq went 20. I think he went 27-13 in that series. Bryant got busy in that series. I won't argue that. But if I'm not mistaken, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Tone, but I'm pretty confident in 2001 against the Spurs. I mean, Shaq, I think he went 27-13 and almost 2 blocks in that series. And they smoked San Antonio. But back to your point about Kobe Bryant averaging 35 in the 05-06 season. So just so you know, in the 98-99 season, which was the lockout shortened season. So Avery Johnson at that point, he was on his 6th team in 8 years he'd been in the league. This is his 6th team. David Robinson was recovering from a back injury that he had a year ago. He still was damn good. He still was elite. Jerome Kersey was long in the tooth. Mario Ellie was a journeyman. Jaren Jackson was on that crew. Malik, I forgot his name. He went to Drexel.
Malik Rose. He had
led the country in rebounding. He was in his 2nd year. I think he was in his 2nd or 3rd year in the league. And Sean Elliott, who also was a damn good player, but not an all-star, but a damn good player. That's who Duncan, who is in year 2, he took them to the NBA championship and won it with them. And by the way, in his 2nd year, he's first team All-Pro. This is in year 2, by the way. So I want to fast forward, and they swept the Lakers that year with Bryant and Shaq, by the way. So, and then what I want to do is I want to fast forward to 2003. So now you know who Manu Ginobili is today. You know who Tony Parker is today. You know who all of these guys are today. You don't know who Manu Ginobili is in 2003. He's a rook. You don't know who Steven Jackson is. You don't know who Tony Parker is in year 2. We don't know who any of these guys are. Duncan takes this team of basically a band of bandits and takes this team to the NBA championship against the 3-time NBA champions and bounces them out the playoffs. Duncan is arguably, at that point, the best defensive player in the game. Not only is he the best defensive player in the game, he's 25, and I think he was 23 and 12 that year. The year before that, he was 25 and 12. He's coming off of back-to-back league MVP seasons where he keeps running into this Laker team. He was the best 4-man in the game at that time, considering how good Garnett was. He still was the best 4-man in the game at that point. And that thing continued as time went on. So when he transitioned from playing the 4 to the 5, which is his natural position that he played in college, he was just as dominant as a defensive player.
Chill, just real quick. Don't forget to piggyback that in that game 6 that the Spurs beat him. Kobe had 20 points and 7 turnovers as they lost by 28.
Mm-hmm. And that was in Los Angeles too, by the way.
Yeah.
That was in Los Angeles. And Duncan, I think Duncan went 33 and 16 in that game, by the way, to end the series. Now, don't get me wrong. Kobe won more in terms of head-to-head matchups. He did win more in terms of head-to-head matchups with Duncan but I mean, it helps when you got the most dominant and the best player in the league on your crew. That 100% helps.
That's true, but I want to ask as well, why would you, or y'all, all of y'all, why would you put Duncan over Kobe? Like, what is your reasoning? Because when I think about my criteria, I think of peak, I think of somebody's prime, I think of dominance, I think of player production, and just that right there.
And then exactly, and that's exactly why when I think of, for my criteria, is your game timeless? Like, what would Duncan do in today's game? I think Duncan would be awesome in today's game. What would Duncan do in the 80s? Would Duncan be awesome in the 80s? 100%. Would Duncan be awesome in the 2000s? He played in the 2000s. Did Duncan dominate? 100% he dominated. Not only did he dominate, he transitioned from the 4 to the 5. Excuse me, from the 4 to the 5, and still was dominant, still making an all-pro team, still making an all-NBA team, still winning NBA championships, playing the 5, still doing that. Right? Is your game transcendent? What else can we say about Tim Duncan that we haven't already said? He's called the big fundamental. He's called the big fundamental for a reason. So when I think about what he's done, and not just the greater, I'm just talking about his game. A lot of these guys who are great players have basic games. Michael Jordan had a basic game. Don't let the flash fool you with the moves that he made. No, Jordan had a very basic game. Tim Duncan had a very basic game, and it was ridiculously effective. Ridiculously effective. It might not be for the aesthetics for you, but it was ridiculously effective. That's why I have Duncan over Bryant.
I also feel like a lot of people like to hold Bryant back because of his field goal percentage. But I mean, like in the 05-06 season, Kobe Bryant was taking 20 plus, probably 23, 24, 25 plus shots a game, shooting about 55 plus true shooting percentage on averaging 35 a game, with a team with zero spacing. In a team where he was the main scorer, he couldn't really have anybody else to really rely on to give that scoring push. He was really the main guy taking this team. I mean, it's not really much he could do with the team that he had. I mean, they were the 7th seed that season. And
can I ask you this about Peak? Can I ask you this about Peak? So I'm just going to ask you. So in the playoffs, Tim Duncan's highs are, for an average first series, are 32, 17, 6, and 5 blocks. Kobe Bryant's highs are 35, 9, and 8. With 2 steals, 3 steals, something like that, right? What do you think more conducive?
That's their peak.
That's all. That's their peak. That's their best series. You know what I mean? What's more conducive to winning?
It sounds like that other stuff that you just said.
You're gonna bring up defense. That's what you're trying to.
I said Duncan is 32, 17, 6, and 5, and Kobe is 35, 9, and 8, and 3. What's more conducive to winning? Who peaks higher?
It depends, because I mean Kobe's giving you more scoring, but you're not asking Kobe to go out there and average
here.
17 boards like Duncan.
Check this out, bro. I'll separate it for you. This is the best way to do it.
Before you go any further, Tone, you know why you're not asking him to do that? Because he got Shaq. That's why.
Right.
That's
so
why
hold on.
Him to do that.
I'll separate it for you. Check this out. Kobe Bryant averages 3 more points, right? Duncan averages 8 more rebounds. Would you rather have a player that can get you 3 points or 8 rebounds?
I mean, yeah, but then again, I mean, still, you're not asking Kobe to go out there and give you 17 boards. I don't know what shooting guard is giving you 17 boards. And still, Kobe, to bring up the defense, Tim Duncan's an all-time great defender, but I mean, Kobe, is a great defender as well, a two-way player. Will go out there and guard the best players on the squad. And this is at the shooting guard position.
So will Duncan.
The same way how we praise Michael Jordan for being a great two-way player, Kobe is too. So he's not no slouch defensively at all. No,
we're not saying he is. We're just saying he's not as good as Duncan. Hey, Shamar, what do you think about this? Where do you think the difference? What do you think separates them?
Just situations. Like with the fact that Kobe had Shaq. That right there really sets them apart. And I understand that Kobe was able to still succeed without Shaq, but majority of Kobe rings were won with Shaq. And I can't, and I'm not trying to fault Kobe for having another dominant teammate, but we have to take that into account. To me, that's the biggest separator. Now, I feel like they're close, but I still lean towards Tim Duncan when it comes to greater. I have to.
This is what I have to say about this. This might be a hot take.
All right, Elijah, this got to be the last thing. We got to move on, bro.
Okay. But me personally, I feel like Shaq needed Kobe more than Kobe needed Shaq. Because when we think about Shaq,
No way.
What we think about Shaq? Okay, listen. What we think about Shaq, right? Shaq's always played with great guards, right? He had Penny.
That's
He had
true.
Dwayne Wade.
Yeah.
He had LeBron at the time.
Yeah,
He
Nash.
had Kobe Bryant. So, I mean, these are guys that he's playing with. When Shaq left Kobe, he went to go play with Wade. And after that, he didn't win again. Kobe was still dominant until he was making all NBA teams until 3 years before he retired when he was injured.
And so was Duncan. So, but hey, thanks for coming up, man. Appreciate you.
Appreciate you. Thank you for
Yep.
bringing me on.
Absolutely, brother. Absolutely.
So hey, I want to go on another spectrum real quick because we're running out of time. I want to talk about it just for a few minutes. And since you're a HoopStorian and all that, chill. Who is the best player of all time to never average double digits in anything?
In anything.
In anything.
That's a tough one, man. Because when I just thought it was the best player to never be a double-digit scorer. Because I can get the particulars out the way when we talk about scorers. Like, okay, Mutombo, let's get the particulars out the way in terms of scoring. Like Draymond, Dennis Rodman, Ben Wallace.
All those guys, except Ben Wallace, all average double digits though at some point.
Right. Well, but here's the thing: to for your career to not average double digits, I mean that's a pretty big deal. I mean, Mark Jackson didn't average double digits for his career. Mark Jackson when he retired,
right? But he had seasons where he averaged double digits in points, double digits.
Yes, he did. Who is that? Tone? I to be honest with you, a guy who never averaged double digits, maybe Mark Eaton.
Mark Eaton, okay, that's a good one. I like, well, there's Casey Jones. There's an example, one of the best perimeter defenders of his era. You know, didn't really get a chance, many attempts.
Was he was he more of a product of that system with the Celtics, or was he?
I mean, he was a great college player, wasn't he? He was highly counted. Yeah. So I think it was more so. I try to explain to people this whenever they say the 18 thing, they don't understand it's the top 100 players in the world at the time.
Yes, it is.
You know what I mean? And you play him 10 times a year. It's hard to get minutes. I'll tell you one of my favorites is Nate McMillan. Nate McMillan averages 9-something assists, 8 points. But my all-time favorite Nate McMillan stat is, what was it, 94. He averaged 3 steals a game in 25 minutes.
That's nuts. That don't even make sense right there. How do you do that?
3 steals. I don't know if you remember.
Minutes. And by the way, Tone, that's not 25 straight minutes. That's coming in and out the lineup.
Right.
Wow, that's pretty impressive.
Because I don't know if you remember this. Were you in college in 94?
I was.
Okay, so yeah, I don't know what year that was. You were in college, but the 94 Seattle Sonics that looked like they were the best team in the league that year. They set the record for most steals that year because they had Peyton, McMillan, and Gill, just ball hawks, just getting it and all that. So to me, the best player I ever saw with it, because I mean, I saw a little Mark Eaton at the end because I started watching basketball full time. When did you start watching basketball full time? Mine was 92.
Full time?
Yeah.
Probably around 4th grade. So that was probably 81 or 82.
81, 82. What about you, Shamar? When did you start watching basketball full time?
Full time, early 2010s. I'm late.
Yeah, I know. That's why I wanted you on. I wanted the young perspective on it. You got a best player never averaged double digits?
I want to say Tony Allen. But I think he had one season, just one season where he averaged double digits. I'm gonna go hometown. Tony Allen, big name out here in Memphis, so that's who I'm gonna go. One of the best perimeter defenders in the league. Give me Allen, even though
Okay, I'm gonna ask you this, and if you want to answer Shamar, that's cool. You can pass it, but I want to give Chill a 6-pack of start bench cuts, okay, and like you've never had before. You ready for it?
Let's do it.
All right. Post up game: Sam Cassell, Mark Jackson, Andre Miller.
I'm gonna start. So we're on the block.
Okay, but yeah, you could have Sam Cassell's post up, Mark Jackson's, or Andre Miller's.
I'm gonna start Sam. I'm gonna bench Mark Jackson. I'm cutting Andre Miller.
What about you, Shamari? Who you going with?
I'm gonna let Chill have that one.
Sam Cassell, hey, I think Sam Cassell's the best post up point guard of all time.
He might be better than Magic.
Best point guard.
Yeah,
okay. Let me phrase this: best post up point guard play, best post up point guard in a point guard size body. Let me phrase.
No, Chauncey Billups was pretty good on that box.
Nah, man, not as good as Cassell on that baseline mid post he would do, and then he hit that turnaround. Like I don't ever remember him missing. Okay, you ready? Shot. Your shot. Okay. I love this one. Okay. Michael Adams, Michael Gilchrist, or Kevin Martin? Not effective. I'm just talking about the form.
I'm starting Michael Adams because I think he led the league in 3-point percentage with that one hand shot. Just so you know, Shamar,
that shit is so ugly.
He shot the ball like this. That's how he didn't shoot like this. He shot the ball like this.
And he was 5'10". And he was 5'10".
Yeah,
he was 5'10". In 1 year, he averaged 26 and a half and 11 assists.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna start Michael Adams. He made the All-Star team too, by the way. I'm gonna start Michael Adams. I'm gonna bench Kevin Martin, and I'm cutting Michael Kidd-Gilchrist. That shot is.
You don't want the sideways. You don't want the sideways shot.
That shot is garbage. What is this, man? How do you shoot like that? Oh, no.
Okay. Shot blocking. You can have Wade's, McGrady's, or Barkley's.
I'm gonna start Wade. Barkley was really good at the rim. Barkley was one of the worst defenders overall, but he was really good at the rim, though. Tracy McGrady wasn't much of a shot blocker. He was more
1 year, 1.9 shot blocks and 31 minutes a game off the bench in Toronto. Barkley's best year, 2.2 blocks.
I'm taking Barkley over McGrady. I'm gonna start Wade. I'm gonna start Wade. I'm benching Barkley. I'm cutting T-Mac.
Mari, you want to jump on this one?
This way he said. I would do what he said too.
You gonna go that way?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Coaching. You can have you got Kurt Rambis, John Calipari. This is NBA coaching, or Rick Pitino.
Yep. Kirk Rambis, Calipari.
No, I'm gonna take that back. I don't want Pitino. I want ML Carr instead. So we're gonna go Calipari, Rambis, and ML Carr.
I'm starting Calipari because I don't think Kirk Rambis knew what he was doing. I don't think he had.
That's the point. That's the point of this.
I think he had the fortune of having Shaq and Kobe and those guys at that. I don't think he had a clue what he was doing. So I'm gonna start Calipari because he actually took that team to the playoffs. I'm gonna bench Kirk Rambis because ML Carr was clueless. I think that was the worst season in the history of the Boston Celtics. I think they won like 20 games that year. So yeah, I'm cutting ML Carr. They were garbage in '96. Terrible.
All right, let's go with this. And let's go with you. Okay, so athleticism. Eric Bledsoe, Andre Iguodala, Nate Robinson. Just their athleticism.
Oh, I think Andre Iguodala is the better athlete of all of these guys. As good as Bledsoe is as an athlete. I think I might have to cut Bledsoe because
that's what I was thinking.
Oh, I think Bledsoe's the best athlete out of all of them.
And that's what I've heard. I've heard Bledsoe is a tremendous. I've heard he's a tremendous athlete, but I'm thinking about Nate Robinson too. Played football, played basketball, ridiculously strong. I might have to cut Bledsoe. Yeah, I'm starting Iggy. I'm benching Nate Robinson and I'm cutting Bledsoe.
Hey, real quick. Hey, how far do you go in your basketball career? You got Andre Iguodala's at athleticism. You in the NBA?
I'm an all-pro. I'm not
really?
in the NBA. I'm an all-pro because I wasn't
third team, first team. What are we talking?
I know I'm an all-pro because I wasn't. In terms of athleticism, I was a good athlete, but that kind of athleticism, yeah, I would have been an all-pro.
Okay, all right. So this is last on the start bitch cut, but just their highlight package. Okay, that's it. Just their highlight package. J.R. Smith, White Chocolate, Shannon Brown.
Oh, I'm starting White Chocolate, 100%. I'm starting Jason Williams. I mean, he'll definitely put you on a highlight reel. Let's see. J.R. Smith was J.R. Smith's highlight package?
Dude, I'm gonna put it this way. I'm gonna send you a link to J.R. Smith's highlight package.
It was pretty incredible. Did I miss something?
I'm gonna put it this way. If you went into a coma at Utah State and I woke you up right now and showed you his package, you'd think he's the best player in the league.
Like, what the hell? Who is this dude?
Step back threes, crazy behind the back dunks in traffic, alley oops between the legs, crossover, step backs, passes out the ass. I can't believe you ain't never seen a J.R. Smith highlight package. It's amazing.
I don't know, man. I think Jason Williams is at the top of that list. White
I'm
Chocolate.
gonna say this is your list, not mine.
Yeah, White Chocolate is at the top of that list.
Okay.
From White Chocolate, it's between J.R. Smith and
Shannon Brown.
I don't know Shannon Brown except for him taking the ball off the top of the box and blocking the shot. I don't know anything else other than that.
And the crazy. Well, they have that website, letshannondunk.com.
Yeah, he's been pretty. But I'm gonna bench JR and I'm gonna cut Shannon Brown.
Okay, and that's the other. Hold on. And then this isn't start bench cut. It's just what would you rather have? Would you rather have Jordan running your team in the front office or Darvin Ham coaching it?
I'll take Darvin Ham coaching my team than Jordan.
What about you, Shamari?
I think, I go Darvin Ham because I don't think Darvin was as bad as a lot of people say
He wasn't, Maria. He wasn't.
Yeah.
Hey, did you hear the report what Brian Windhorst reported about him?
No.
He would be on the sidelines fondling himself, staring at crowd members while he did it during the games.
Oh,
Are you kidding me?
Now, whether that's true or not, I don't know, but Windhorst reported it.
I don't know.
So, I mean, you can't have, if it's true, you can't have your coach fondling himself in the middle of games.
Get Darvin Ham off the floor. He killing us. Get Darvin Ham off the floor. So,
as always, yo, man, that's our hour and all that. Appreciate y'all coming on. Hopefully, we answer what greatness is. I'm gonna make this into like a 6-part series. Like, we really gonna expand upon this. We gonna keep going about this because like we talk about this all day.
Sure.
So, yeah, I'm gonna have, like I said, I'm gonna get Bob Ryan. I'm gonna try and get some more players on it. We got Oakley supposedly coming on in a couple weeks, so be on the lookout for that. Till then, we out. Appreciate y'all. Stay up. Hey, make sure y'all drink liquor, wear tracksuits, call your stepmother. What's some other ones? Don't smoke and walk.
Don't do that, yo. Don't do that. Don't smoke and walk at the same time. You might trip over and burn yourself. Don't do that.
There we go.
No, don't.
All right, y'all. Appreciate
y'all. Super dope. I enjoyed that. That was all right. Later, Mom.
Oh, Canada.
Put on a suit, drink water. Don't drink and drive. Hey, man, call your mother.
It means nothing. It means nothing.
Nah, they lying to you. It's about the money.
Now you're more fluent.